Welcome to Beacon of Creation, a weekly podcast on game design through the lens of Magic the Gathering. I'm Tim.
I'm Gaby, and once again I'm taking a break from playing Baldur's Gate to talk about Baldur's Gate Magic cards.
Back when we did the first episode about 2 months ago, we were just still kind of like novices on Baldur's Gate. We were still kind of figuring out the game. Since then, you've become a pro. You've beaten the game at least twice, almost 3 times.
Yep, and today we're going to talk more about some of these characters that were turned into magic cards in the Baldur's Gate set. We are going to talk about them kind of as characters and how we experience them, but you don't have to have played Baldur's Gate the game to listen to these episodes. If you're just curious about what the cards are like and our feelings about them, that's totally fine. If you do want to play the game and you want to avoid spoilers, some of the things we're going to talk about for these characters today might involve some game elements that are in what is known as Act 2.
Yeah. Let's recap what these characters are about. Let's read what the magic card that got printed was. Let's kind of think about how close that matches that character. And then maybe also like what can we do to maybe bridge the gap between what actually happened in the game versus what happened with these magic cards.
Yeah, kind of flavor first, yeah.
So our first one's going to be Halsin, Emerald Archdruid. So this magic card is 3 and a green for a legendary creature Elf Druid at uncommon. It's a 2/4, and it has an ability here. 1 mana, until end of turn, target token you control becomes a green bear creature with base power and toughness 4/4 in addition to its other colors and types. So for 1 mana, I can turn a token into a 4/4 until end of turn. A clue, a food, something like that. It also has choose a background, which is like a really instrumental mechanic in Battle for Baldur's Gate. It allows you to have like a green commander who has like a red background, so you have a 2-color deck. I think for what we're doing here, we're not going to be too worried about keeping choose a background on there. We're probably going to just be creating kind of standalone cards.
I think one cool thing about the set was mix and match flavor, but I think it's good to go the direction of having it be standalone in our top-down design.
All right, so tell me about Halsin.
When you first meet him, he is a bear. He is a cave bear. And even when he's not in wild shape, he's a big bear-full elf. He's huge. I think he's like 7 feet tall. Who knows? But it feels like he's very tall. I read a thread the other day. It was a silly speculation, but it was like, what if Halsin is a bear that shape changes into an elf sometimes? He's just like so deeply associated with being a bear. He's missing from the Emerald Enclave. You try to bring him home, but he's got a century-long quest to heal a curse on an area of the world. He's out adventuring to try to find the clues to this quest. He wants to restore nature, resolve this curse. He wants to find the spirit of the land, which is missing. In terms of color pie, he is as green as you could be. I think we can't add any colors to Halsin.
Yeah, he's definitely not black. He definitely cares about the world. I probably wouldn't say he's very white, even though he's like the head of a druid circle. He is pretty chill about that leadership.
He's not very attached to like being the head of an organization.
You could maybe get some red in there because red is sort of the gruel, like might makes right. If you're bigger, you're better. But I wouldn't say he's that impulsive. He's very respectful.
Yeah, and I think the century-long quest
Yeah.
doesn't feel especially red to me either. And there are also characters that have done him wrong that he just very quickly forgives.
Yeah, yeah.
So we didn't talk about blue.
I'm not trying to, but if you had to add in a color, I think blue is pretty close. Because he is like trying to learn what's wrong with the land, why the Shadowlands fell under this curse, how to reverse this curse, where the spirit of the Shadowlands went that would normally heal the land.
Yeah, and the like long-lived, long quest was what I was thinking. But honestly, maybe he's just a monocolor.
Yeah. The thing that he has that other characters in the game don't have is the ability to turn into a cave bear, which is an especially cool bear. We probably want to have some sort of cave bear transforminess to Halsin. I think that's pretty important.
Yeah. And I think his ability as is pretty cool, which is making bears out of something that existed and was probably like a non-living thing before, at least in the set it was in.
Yeah, this was definitely a card where they had themes in the set. They had a proper noun for Halsin. They're like, oh, a druid. Yeah, sure. This druid can turn things into bears. But he's not like a polymorph guy. He's not turning other things into bears. I don't think that's close to what he does.
Yeah, he doesn't turn other things into bears. He turns himself into bear. The other thing that bothers me about the original card is that it's a 4/4 bear. I can't handle that.
Is that too big?
It's got to be a 2/2 bear. If you're going to have a green bear, it's got to be a 2/2.
Yeah, but he's like big enough to take on a whole party. He's gigantic.
He is a big bear. But if you're making other bears, if you're making a green bear token,
you're a bear traditionalist.
It just feels wrong.
Well, so if it's like a dire bear or a cave bear, then we're allowed to go above 2/2?
If it's cave bear, that's fine. Or if it's like a beast, then it's big.
Beast bear.
Beast bear.
If you're playing with druids in Baldur's Gate, like one thing that you're going to run into really quickly is that like druids have a lot of spells, but if you're in shapeshifted form, you can't cast any spells. One thing that would help increase the D&D feeling of this card is some sort of like spellcaster form and shapeshifted form.
Yeah, I think this is a great one for a transform card.
And they probably wouldn't put DFCs in Battle for Baldur's Gate.
We're taking it out of that set a little bit, yeah.
I think another thing, if we're going the transform route, if we're going the DFC route, something like that, is unlike a lot of like DFCs where there's sort of like this pressure to have the transform side have like a bunch of cool new powers. I think the transform side of Halsin is like the way less complex half of Halsin. When he's a bear, he's just like big and like has some keywords or something like that.
Yeah, I'm up for that, yeah.
I guess he's kind of a large guy. I mean, he's like notably large.
He's very large in the game.
Yeah, I think that what Halsin fans like about Halsin is that he's a big guy. Elves are kind of like tall and thin, but he's like tall and big.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, so maybe the druid side is something about, this quest to cure the Shadowlands or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the backside is just like a couple keywords or something like that. And maybe the ability to turn back as well.
Yeah, would you expect him to be able to turn back into the caster form?
Yeah, that's a good question. Not in the regular Battle for Baldur's Gate. We're going to go deep for a second here, pardon me. But in the arena version of Baldur's Gate, which wasn't a commander product, it was just like a draft format with a bunch of alchemy cards. There actually was a shape-shifting druid card named Lucamina. And Lucamina had this wild shape ability, which used the specialized mechanic in that set, where you'd sort of like discard a card of a color, and then depending on what color you discarded, she'd turn into that form. You discard a black card, she'd turn into a scorpion or a bear, a green for bear, red for wolf, and so on. The reason I bring Lucamina up is she has an interesting way to transform back that actually lines up really well with D&D. It says like on the back of this like scorpion form, when Lucamina dies, it unspecializes. If it unspecializes this way, return it to the battlefield tapped.
Yeah, that's interesting. I do like that flavor that it would come back as a caster form. Is that too strong as a commander, though? Like, if it always comes back?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I guess if it's hard to transform, if it only happens while he's in bear form.
Yeah, if you're in caster form and die, you die. If you're in bear form and you die. And if you get exiled or something, you're out of luck. You don't
die, yeah.
You don't turn into an elf, yeah.
Right.
Maybe one of the balancing factors on Lucamina was that she was a 2/2, whereas we kind of want Halsin to be bigger than that.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to have a ton of power because you don't really see him punching people. But if he was 3 tough, I don't know. That's like smaller than Shadowheart was.
I mean, do we keep him 2/4 on the front?
I think 2/4 is in the right area. I would think 2/5.
Yeah.
Because once you have a 5 toughness elf, then that's like unusual for an elf.
Yeah, he is unusually big, yeah. And then bigger on back.
Yeah. I think my starting point would be 5/5, but I'd be happy going even higher. We'll figure out how he flips, and then that'll help us figure it out as well. Yeah, he's 4 mana to start. You spend another bunch of mana, he turns into like a big burly guy. That's a bit like monstrosity or like adapt or something like that, where you've got a normal sized creature and then you pump in some mana and then now you have a big creature.
I was thinking about the ones where you spend a bunch of mana and you get like a shield token or whatever. But I think I like flipping better. It just reminded me of that where you like you have it out, you spend mana to shield it, and then it protects it.
Maybe we can also figure out a little bit what this front side's going to be. We're healing the land.
Right.
You know, that's going to be like well within Green's wheelhouse, the heal wheel.
Yeah. What kind of mechanics do you think feel like healing the land, though? And maybe I'm just too stuck on the word land.
I guess like bringing lands back from the graveyard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mill a little bit, then use this ability to get some free lands.
Mm.
If you're also getting a little bit of board out of that, because what I'm thinking, like if I heal the land, well, why do I bother doing that? Whether it's like get a land back from your graveyard and also create like a some animal token.
Mm-hmm. Saproling.
Yeah, Saproling. I kind of want it to be an animal. Maybe
yeah.
that feels a little more druidy, but even a wolf, like a 2/2 wolf, could be okay.
Yeah.
Because getting lands back from graveyards is actually at like a high level kind of useful because you can get like a fetched land back every turn.
Right.
You know, Evolving Wild, something like that. You can get a strip mine if you want to really mess with your opponents. You can get that back. You could cycle lands away, then get them back into play for free.
Yeah, which is people love that in Command.
Yeah.
So maybe it's something like pay some amount of mana, return target land from graveyard to your hand, and make a 2/2 bear or something.
Mm-hmm.
I have an idea.
Okay.
What about things like Ascend?
Once you have a certain number of lands?
Yeah, I was looking for, and I can't remember what it is. I called Orazka, but that was not it. The one where you do something 3 times and then it flips? Treasure map or something?
Yeah, treasure map is one of them where you're going to like kind of scry 3 times, then flip.
Yeah.
It's thematic compass. Search your library for a land. Once you have 7 or more lands, you transform the compass into like the Spires of Orazka.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually like that. Once you've gotten enough lands back, something good happens. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe the land graveyard is too hard to do if we're requiring it to happen 3 times or whatever.
Okay, well, maybe something like this. Like at the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a land from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield. Then, if you control, I don't know, let's say 8 or more lands, create a 3/3 green giant elk. I don't know.
I mean, are we just done? Does he have to transform? I guess it doesn't include the word bear.
Yeah, I would be a little disappointed reading a Halsin card. I think we've actually done a good job with curing the Shadow Curse on this ability. I think your idea of the Ascend thing.
Right.
I can't be happy until I've done this enough.
Right.
And then once I've done this enough,
you gotta stick with your quest and then make progress on it.
I guess maybe it is kind of funny if I go into bear form, I'm no longer getting an elk every turn. Maybe the bear form also benefits from lots of lands. Maybe that's the
right.
Like some sort of like eye-popping number. Like it's a 5/5 on the other side, but if you control 10 or more lands, it gets a +8 +8 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or is indestructible or something like that.
Yeah. If we give it indestructible, then we have to take away the regen thing, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just what you said to me.
No, reminding me of my own point. That's a valid thing to do.
Okay, so
I'm starting to think that I maybe just want the bear form to be really easy to go into and just not that big. So that like in the middle of the game, that's when I want to use this like 5/7 bear or something like that. Okay. And then later in the game, or, you know, if I want once I have some lands in my graveyard. So like, I don't know, at the beginning of combat, you may transform him. Like it's not even a cost.
Yeah.
If you just want him to be a bear, he can be a bear.
Okay. I think that's fair.
Or like a single green mana or something like that. Yeah, adding like 1 green mana is actually pretty good because that lets us get a little more stats. You know what I mean? Like you can pay 4 mana for this 2/4 version or 2/5 version. you could pay 5 mana for like a 5/7 bear that can like block for you and do other stuff.
Would you allow that at instant speed?
I think in Commander, absolutely 100%. If we're thinking of like a one-on-one draft thing, I mean, this card might just be too yoked for drafts anyhow, because they're trying to aim at a commander.
Yeah, I mean, it was a commander set to start with, and we're
Yeah.
designing another commander, so.
Hmm.
What if it's just the G regenerate Halsin, transform it?
When it regenerates this way, transform Halsin.
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting, yeah, because now I have a little bit of board wipe protection. I spent a lot of mana on this guy. If it's in,
Yeah.
Someone casts a Wrath, not a Wrath of God, because that says he may not regenerate.
Yeah.
Whoops.
And you still have to
Whoops.
pay for it, so if you're completely tapped out.
Yeah, there's a little bit of shields down. Yeah, maybe that is nice.
And I just like that it says transform on one side and regenerate on the other side. That's nice. Pleasing.
Yeah.
Okay, it still doesn't say bear on the front, though. I think we just have to say, I think the token we make has to be a bear. I think it has to be bear, bear, bear.
All right. If you're putting your foot down, you're putting your foot down.
If we're doing just flavor.
I feel like he wants to be on top. He wants to be the bear so that everything else can flourish. That's my vision of Halsin. But you do know him a lot better than I do.
Yes.
Alrighty, so our whole card here are sticking with the same mana cost, I think. We got 3 and a green.
Yeah, sounds great to me.
For a legendary creature, Elf Druid. This probably bumps up to rare or something like that. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a land card from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield. Then, if you control 8 or more lands, create a 2/2 green bear creature token. It also has pay a green mana to transform Halsin. And on the other side, Halsin is a legendary creature, Elf Beast Bear. It's 5/7 trample, and then it has the ability spend a green mana, regenerate it. When it regenerates this way, transform it. I'm loving this. I think we got like some of the D&D-ness of like switching back and forth between forms. We got a little bit of his quest. If we have space on the card, we could maybe even add like a little like flavor words like healing the Shadowlands or something.
Right. Yeah, there were a lot of those like little phrases. I like that.
Alrighty.
I'm really happy with the pay to transform, pay to regenerate being small costs.
Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Being a small cost, I think that's like really kind of novel. We don't see a lot of that. It's more of like a pay a big cost. But we're in Commander. We shouldn't have to pay that much mana to get a 5/7. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Next up, we've got Minthara, Merciless Soul. 2 white-black for a legendary creature, Elf Cleric. There's Ward X, where X is the number of experience counters you have. And then at the beginning of your end step, if a permanent you control left the battlefield this turn, you get an experience counter. Then creatures you control get +1/+0 for each experience counter you have. She's a 2/2. 2/2 for 4 mana. Doesn't do anything baseline, but then like as she survives and as turns go by, she gets increasing ward and an increasing power pump for your whole team. That's Minthara like as a character.
Yeah, I didn't know she was a character for a while because for me on my first run, and I think for a lot of players that they play the first time, she's just a mini boss. There's like 3 bosses you have to kill in this evil area, and she is one of them. So it was only when I was like reading and then talking with you, Tim, you can become her friend. And one way to become her friend is to be super evil. But you can also like spare her life and then become her friend later. But she is just so hilariously evil. She has no sense of good left in her. She may be loyal in some ways, but only for evil purposes.
There's kind of a funny twist. So I know Minthara pretty well for 2 reasons.
Yes.
One of my characters romanced Minthara.
Yes.
And then also, I had a Minthara commander deck, so I've played this card kind of extensively.
I do remember you playing this card and it being really powerful. One nice thing about the card is that it's the player gaining experience counter, so even when she's removed and comes back, you still get to build it up.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice that she comes with ward, too. And because she's an uncommon, I think. It's not self-contained. You still have to have a way to make creatures and sack creatures.
Yeah, yeah,
But I thought she was fun to play against in
yeah.
Magic as well.
Kind of her role in the evil trio that you have to fight in Act 1 is that she's been sent by someone else. She's been sent by the forces of the Absolute, a big mysterious god, to like round up all these goblins and make them actually accomplish something. They've got this big camp. They've got, dozens of goblins here. We need them to actually motivate them to get in there and basically burn down the druid grove that Halsin's trying to protect. And one of the kind of funny twists about her is that if you actually do save her, you either team up with her and then, find out what happens to her. When you go to save her, she's getting tortured by like psychic evil twins. And you find out that she's actually been mind controlled. And when you undo the mind control, you find out that she's still super evil.
Yeah.
She's just differently evil.
She's evil for revenge now, yeah.
In Act 1, she's like white-black, like this card. And then when you undo the mind control, she's just black. She's just out for herself.
Yeah. She has a tragic backstory, and you don't save her from it. She just stays evil.
You save her from that tragic backstory,
Yeah.
and enable her
It
to
doesn't change her.
be evil.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I find that to be like a pretty fun aspect to Minthara. And she's a paladin, so she's got kind of like wear a bunch of armor, have a big weapon, a big thing for paladins in D&D is smites. So it's like hitting with a melee attack and then adding basically a spell effect to that. Either a blast of radiant energy or fire, or maybe you like terrify them when you hit them or something like that. So she's actually a pretty good martial combatant. She's not just a leader, though as a paladin, she's also got like auras and stuff to power up your team. There's a lot going on with you can tell I know a lot about Minthara.
Yeah, you had more Minthara screen time than I did, I think.
Yeah, this might be the only character that I know more about than you do.
In terms of where to go with this, one thing that was a major part of her early story was goblins. Mm-hmm. And goblins fit with her other abilities that are currently on the card, but she doesn't have red.
Yeah, I think so. I've played this a lot, right? So a 4-mana sort of do nothing commander, but then at the end of your turn, if you've been sacrificing permanents, you can grow this bigger and bigger buff. It's a little hard to play because you have to like put a bunch of evolving wilds and a bunch of creatures that can sack themselves and a bunch of other stuff to get that working and get that off the ground.
Yeah.
But once you do, all of your 1/1s become 6/1s, and then that's kind of sick.
It's a fun build around, but it's weird to me that it doesn't have red if that's the deck that you're going to have to build around it.
I'm also thrown off because all three of these cards, they look not that much like their in-game versions.
Oh, yeah, we didn't talk about the art for Halsin. I think Halsin's is pretty good, but Minthara's does not look like her at all.
Minthara looks almost like a Harley Quinn style, like crazy person.
Yeah, she's very straight-laced in the game. She wears like armor and stands up straight. And
big, deep voice telling you what to do. Are you another weakling, or can I trust you to destroy this encampment? That kind of thing. Each of the companions have like an extra ability that like that class doesn't normally have. Like Halsin can turn into a cave bear. Minthara can brand people with the mark of the Absolute, and that gives them like a speed buff and some extra power until end of turn. And I think branding could be an interesting direction to take her.
Mm-hmm.
If she's like kind of big and bulky, and then she also like brands her subordinates in order to like make them strong, that would feel kind of naturally leadershipy. Like right. I think you need to step up. 2/2 feels a little too small for a paladin. Yeah.
So what you said about branding as opposed to smites, branding is what you do to friends.
Friend might be a stretch, but you got the
general. to your team, yeah.
Yeah.
You're not branding an enemy combatant. You're branding on your side.
Yeah.
So it could be something like brand target creature you control. It can't be blocked with power greater or less than or whatever. Like those kind of abilities also feel like goblin sneaky, which would fit with what her army does.
Is she red? Maybe in the Mardu sense of like the huge martial powerful force that can fight anybody.
Yeah. Go wide, catapults.
Yeah, I guess in that sense she is kind of red.
Well, if we leave her black white, what would her brand be then? What would her buff be?
I mean, just like a vigilance and death touch and like a couple
Mm,
extra power or something like that.
yeah.
I guess it is nice if you go red because then you can have like the give a thing haste, which is like a really good,
Yeah.
I've already got the commander on the battlefield, then I play my 6/6, give it haste right
Yes.
away. It kind of shoots right into the fray. She has kind of like a white roll.
Yeah.
You could take the white off because it's even though there is some hierarchy in like her upbringing, she has a foster hierarchy. She's not like having a pizza party for her goblins to like, get the morale up.
She is sent to bring order, though, so maybe the whites still belong.
Her reasons for having a hierarchy is like to oppress things. Like it's not
Yeah.
to like encourage
Not
things.
to bring calm or
No, no,
equalize
no,
things or, yeah.
no. Maybe maybe black red is what we kind of aim
Just take a
for.
black red. Okay.
Then the goblin stuff like naturally is great.
Right.
Like it
Right.
like fits in exactly with her role in the game at that point.
And then having her grant haste fits a lot better.
There have been more and more cards that kind of play with this. I think one of the early classics of what we've sort of sketched out is called Ogre Battle Driver, which is like a 4-minute 3/3. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, that creature gets +2/+0 and gains haste until end of turn.
Okay.
That like gives kind of everything haste, which is kind of sick. The flavor of the brand is a little like goblins want to get branded, but only a couple brands get handed out, if that makes sense.
If they're like true believers.
So maybe the brand is like permanent. Maybe we give like +2 and have haste, and it doesn't go away until end of turn, but I'm only doing it to like one creature a turn.
I think it could be one. It could be like at the beginning of combat, choose a creature to get +2/+0 in haste.
Yeah.
So it's not the first one you play, so you can do a little bit of sequencing.
Yeah. At the beginning of combat, pick which thing to brand. If you've already got some,
Yeah.
she arrives. I'm thinking we maybe want to mana cost her up a little bit so she could be a little bigger. So there can already be like a really cool, accomplished goblin. Minthara's here, like, you seem to be pretty good. Brands them right there, on the
Right.
first turn after you play her.
Yeah. I think we could riff off our original one. So when one of your creatures deals damage to an opponent, get an experience counter. And then make things bigger with experience counters again.
So when you brand a creature, it doesn't get like 2 power in haste. It gets experience in haste. Okay. Yeah, I'm loving this. But you brought the experience back. I love it.
I think the part of those abilities are really cool. Getting a wide army and giving everybody a little bit of power for each counter feels very cool to me and very Goblin Horde to me.
So this first ability here will be like Absolute's brand at the beginning of combat, put a brand counter on target creature, maybe you control. It gains haste and gets +X/+O, where X is the number of experience counters you have. Yeah, this ties like right back into that card in a cool way.
Right.
And then the second half, when your opponent's creatures die or when a branded creature deals damage to the opponent, you get experience.
Yeah. I think it'd be great to turn it into dealing damage to an opponent.
I kind of want to say whenever a creature you branded deals damage to an opponent, so we could maybe get some EDH like, hey, let me brand your creature. And then if they attack a different opponent.
That might be too slow the game down.
Yeah, maybe I'll just leave that as a dream. Or maybe that's like a future tweak if we want it. Whenever a creature you control with a brand counter deals combat damage to a player, you get an experience counter. This came together pretty quick. Having played Minthara originally, this is a little less like all in nutty stuff, because the thing with Minthara is you want to get one experience and then just proliferate 1,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like really hard to get that experience. She's a bad creature. And if she gets removed before you get that first experience, you're kind of out of the game because you're wasting all these triggers. Now I can like build up a force. She comes down on turn 5. She brands like your coolest creature. That creature hits. You've got that first experience. You can start proliferating if you need to. Like it's a little, she's a little bigger, a little more reliable. You can start branding multiple creatures. We can make her a bigger creature so she's a little more relevant. She could brand herself. Yeah, a little friendlier to play.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about the number of experience counters and it getting like, I guess it's not exponential, multiplicatively bigger. Like if she stays out, then you get like 2 branded creatures and then 3 branded creatures, right?
Yeah.
And then you would get 3 experience counters.
Ooh.
if they all hit. But that is hard to set up.
Yeah, because this is a beginning of combat trigger. We're talking like
Yeah.
I hit on turn 5 and then my army survived, and then I hit twice on turn 6 and then my army survived
Yeah.
again. And then I hit on turn 7.
Is it too hard to set up?
No, I'm confident
Okay.
that maybe I'll have some sneaky goblins, like you said, that'll like tunnel
Yeah.
in or whatever. Goblin Tunneler, who like tap target creature with power 2 or less can't be blocked this turn. I do that on my goblin, then I brand it afterward, but it's already got this effect on it. It gets in there, it hits, and I'm kind of growing my experience. I'm getting stronger. All the kind of stuff that I'm used to doing with like Battle Rattle Shaman, who was like a goblin who would kind of pump creatures every turn. That was like a popular limited card. We're trying to bring some of that flavor here. Minthara is like looking at this like swath of untrained goblin and just choosing, you seem like the most competent. Go look for the item.
Yeah.
Oh, that one died. Okay, well, you try.
Well, let's try it
you
with
survived?
2. Let's try it with 3. Let's try it with 4. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is way cooler. Size-wise, what are we thinking here?
If she costs 5, I think probably 3/3 or 4/4.
One commander that I was looking at is Grevin, Predator Captain, who's 3 black-red, so like the same cost that we're looking at. And he's a 5/5 menace with upside. If you're supposed to be a big burly warrior, maybe she's not supposed to be 5/5. That might be a little too big. But like a 5/4, 4/4, yeah, 4/4 menace. Maybe I think menace is also maybe appropriate for her.
Yeah,
she's getting in there slapping people.
Yeah, I would let her grab herself haste and get in there.
That's true. She can give herself haste and start smacking.
If she has menace.
Right,
so yeah, I like 4/4
4/4
menace. Yeah. So she doesn't just sit back. I think giving her menace makes it more likely she'll go in.
All right, so yeah, we've got our card here. 3 black-red for a 4/4 menace, like we talked about. Absolute's brand on the beginning of combat. Put a brand counter on target creature. It gains haste and gets +X/+O, where X is the number of experience counters you have. Whenever a creature you control with a brand counter deals combat damage to a player, you get an experience counter.
I love this. I would put it with the Goblin deck, which is where she doesn't necessarily want to be, but what her job is right now.
Yeah, it's a little bit more about her showing up and commanding an army around, and a little bit less about like, I'm going to sacrifice a treasure every turn, which is how she kind of works now.
Yeah.
Well, we got 2 down, we got 1 to go, but we're actually going a little back in time because we got Jaheira, who was a character in the first couple of Baldur's Gate games as well, so old people like me remember her fondly. Jaheira, Friend of the Forest, 2 and a green for a legendary creature, human elf druid at rare. Tokens you control have tap, add green, and choose a background. 3 mana, 2/3. Choose a background, which we're not going to worry too much about. And then this token synergy, kind of like Halsin did. Like your tokens are cooler in this draft environment.
In the game, you meet Jaheira, and I think for people who have played the game, it's like a big reveal. But she's protecting like one of the last holdouts in this cursed evil place. And she does not trust you. She poisons you with the truth serum. She wraps you in vines. She does not start off as a friend of anybody.
She's hardcore.
She's very protective. She's also old. She's gray hair. She calls herself old. She makes jokes about how she's been around the block a bunch. She's like a leader because she's done this before for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
So again, the magic art doesn't exactly land for me because in the game she has white gray hair. The other thing that isn't in the art or in the text here is that she does seem to be like martial. Like she likes to swing her scimitars around. And she is technically a druid in terms of class, but I never really understood her to be a druid in terms of the way D&D druids play.
Yeah, she's not trying to fit into like a druid circle like Halsin does.
Right.
She just lives in cities. She's a harper, which is sort of like the Robin Hood society that's trying to like, do good around the world.
Even though the flavor text on this card talks about harpers, at least in Baldur's Gate, the video game, they are kind of a secret society. They meet in basements and they have keywords and they have people that betray them and they have spies in every city. And there's more of a spy vibe to it than just like a Robin Hood do-gooder.
I mean, Robin Hood has a little bit of that too. Robin's
Yeah,
like
right.
hiding in the forest in the trees.
Yeah, the criminal, maybe criminal
Yeah,
side.
criminal. Yeah.
But there are lines where she's like, "Have you ever heard of a secret organization? Don't call me a Harper in front of these people." You know, she's kind of the face of the Harpers because somebody has to be. But in general, I think people don't acknowledge that they're Harpers.
And she's even like a promoted Harper. I think she's a high Harper is her title.
Yeah. She's like the head of the organization. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's okay for her to have like some druid claws. She could shapeshift into like a cool panther or whatever, or she could like heal somebody, bring a plant back to life or something, communicate with animals and have them spy for her. Like all that kind of stuff is on the table for Jaheira. But yeah, like multiple times there's a cutscene where like something goes by in the sky, and then Jaheira's first thing to do is she turns around and looks at her 2 swords on the table and goes and picks them up. Like she's way more about these scimitars, and she's soldier background. So like she's not like a druid, like a fully immersed, like natural druid. She's like a practical druid.
Yeah, she's a druid that would wear armor and carry around swords. Like, yeah, where the flavor is missing for me on the existing card is the Harpers don't match the way that they're done in BG3. And there's no like indication of her like martial prowess. Like she does want to swing her swords around.
Yeah, the existing Jaheira card is sort of like an engine-y or an engine assist.
Right.
I had like Lannis who makes 1,000,000 clues, or Samwise who makes 1,000,000 clues. Like I'm putting Jaheira in that deck so that like when I make like 10 food tokens, now I also get basically like 10 Llanowar elves.
Right. Yeah.
And her body is like, please stay out of battle.
Yeah.
Color-wise, I would say she's quite selfless.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah.
She's made a lot of sacrifices in her life. She helps people even beyond her means. She's hardcore about protecting the people she's protecting.
Are you saying you want to add white?
Yeah, feels pretty white to me.
Yeah.
I would say she's like more white than green, even if like, what is her class? Druid, green.
Honestly, the druid side doesn't really do it for me for her in the video game.
You could make her a white druid, like a non-green druid, which maybe doesn't exist in Magic yet. I don't know.
So what do you think we should do about her scimitars? Should we add equipment? Cares about equipment in there?
Yeah, equipment, or because, you know, she's a Harper, so she's like reinforcing other people secretly, you know, getting resources to them. And maybe equipment is one of those resources. I was kind of looking around. I was like, have there been white druids? There actually have been mono white druids. It looks like there's maybe like 6 or 8 of them. A bunch of them from Capenna, of all things.
Oh, interesting. Well, that was like the animal faction in Capenna, right?
Yeah, like the cat Jetmir.
Yeah.
But if you work for Jetmir, you might be a druid. I think the most famous one would be Benny Brax, zoologist, who's another sort of token-loving engine-y commander card. All right, so mono white's on the table, but also green. We can keep green in there. I mean, if you're bringing her in your party, you're definitely having her heal people. You're definitely having her like summon cool creatures to help you in battle. You're not shutting down the druid powers. You're not turning them down just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So yeah, but maybe a little bit less. We maybe don't want her casting a ramp spell. And actually, you know, flavor-wise, we maybe don't want her summoning animals. Like, even though mechanically you can do that in the video game, I don't really see her doing that too often.
What if, with some of her white identity, we talked a little bit, but she does have kind of crowd control things in the video game, so
tapping things down,
entangling, or like poisoning people. But, you know, maybe disabling people's abilities.
She does low-key try to poison you with juice.
She does explicitly poison you right when you meet her. Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, that's a good point, because normally, like, entangling vines, like, that's like an iconic sort of D&D video game spell that you'll see in a lot of video games. But that isn't really a green effect. So it's, like, hard to put on green cards. But because she's green-white, she actually can do it. She actually can tap things down.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe that's where we start, is entangling vines, and then something about tapping creatures.
That'll get some of the druid vibe that we want. It's like a white ability, but with green flavor, green, like green vibe. And then we also get in whatever her Harper ability is going to. Oh, should I not even be saying that word? Should I keep it secret?
What, Harper?
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah. You ever heard of a secret society, Tim?
She has like sort of a on the ground field agent. She's not like back in the office giving orders to other Harper agents. She's out there leading by example.
She's standing by the gate when you come in to interview you.
Yeah. They get her out real quick to lead the interrogation.
Oh, when I looked up Harper, there is Harper Recruiter.
Oh, yeah.
Which is from the top of your deck doing Cleric, Rogue, Wizard, Warrior. And that does not have a lot of great support. And it could be cool if that's something that she could support.
Like if she has an ability like this Recruiter, or?
Yeah, like using those party keywords. Like,
oh, you want to get some party action. Okay.
I don't know. Maybe. We haven't done that with any of the companions yet.
Yeah.
Is it too weak to try to build into?
No. I mean, there was a whole commander deck about this concept. Yeah. About the 4 character classes, the party classes. I think there's a black-white commander deck, and then in Zendikar of all places, that's where the party concept started. There are a bunch of like scaling, especially Zendikar, but in the commander deck as well, cards that scale off of your party size. Like Allied Assault. Up to 2 target creatures each get +X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures in your party. Your party consists of up to 1 of each of Cleric, Rogue, Warrior, and Wizard. Though I'm starting to realize that she can't be a party member because she's a druid. And her type line's already kind of choked out because it's legendary creature, human elf druid. You'd want to get warrior in there, but
what if it's like, hey, look at 5 cards, get a creature from them? Does that feel green?
Yeah, there are cards that like adventure awaits. Look at the top 5, reveal a creature, put it in your hand if you didn't draw a card.
So what if the ability is just like this, but look at 5, you may reveal a creature and put it into your hand. Yeah, I kind of like this ability. Just give it to her in a repeatable way.
Yeah, the only thing that's tricky is that Adventure Awaits is like 6 lines of magic text. So, like, if we want to do that, we can't really do the Entangling Vines anymore.
Yeah. What are some of the new keywords? Like, not explore. What?
Yeah, discover.
Discover.
I think if she could discover into a creature, that would make some sense.
Yeah.
Flip until you hit a creature or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm kind of leaning away from her drawing cards because I do want to get the sword stuff on there. I do want to get her fighting things.
It's not swords also, but what about Convoke? So if you say like creatures can be cast with Convoke, so if you have a bigger board, you can cast bigger creatures.
Okay. There are a couple things that grant Convoke already, though they're not quite in the space, at least the cards that I've found. One of them is Chief Engineer, who's a blue creature that artifact spells you cast have Convoke. Right. And there's a newer kind of oddball, Falaji Wayfarer, who is like all colors and then multicolor spells you cast have Convoke. That is like kind of a cool niche because it still rewards tokens. You know, your cards are still being used to cast spell. You know, her original ability is your tokens have tap, add green. And if she gives Convoke to things, then all your creature tokens.
Is too similar? Yeah.
Well, it doesn't let your food tap for mana, for better or worse.
Right.
It doesn't let your treasure tap for mana.
But it does let your actual creatures, your non-token creatures tap.
Yeah. I mean, baseline, we could say like creatures you cast have Convoke. But if we find some niche for it, like something a little more specific, that would be fun as well. The first creature card you cast has Convoke. I guess it makes sense if Jaheira had Vigilance.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe something like other creatures you control have Vigilance and can tap for mana. I don't know. That way you can still fight and still cast things, or creatures that attack this turn can tap for mana or something. I'm trying to add some action in. Now, as I start to say that, I'm also kind of dreading because like whenever a commander requires you to like deal combat damage to do anything.
Yeah.
With the commander itself, that can be hard. Like wait a turn, sit around, then get to attack, then maybe hit. But if we make it explosive, that could be pretty fun. Yeah, let me sketch that before I shoot it down. I shot down my own idea too fast. Other creatures you control have vigilance. Creatures you control that attacked this turn have tap, add white green or something, like 2 mana, something kind of cool.
Why is it only other creatures if you want her to attack?
Well, we're going to give her vigilance. This is just like a weird magic wording thing.
Okay, yeah. You don't say all creatures you control?
Yeah, for some reason, they've been at it for 30-something years. They know.
They got it. They got the template.
Yeah. Us custom designers, we just want fewer words. That's our KPI.
Right, yeah.
But Wizards has like play experience and stuff.
Yeah.
Now that I'm looking at it, I had to go up a couple lines in order to put vigilance on our little draft card here. And in order to do that, I had to put my cursor past our little entangling vines placeholder. As I did that, I started to realize that if we're tapping things, that's actually going to make it easier for my cool vigilance creatures to survive and then cast cool spells after combat.
Point. Yeah, I was a little bit worried about forcing like small green-white guys to attack, because if you have to do that to let them tap for mana, if you're behind, it doesn't help you catch up.
I guess if everyone has a huge board and I have no board, then I'm just now I detonate the Wrath of God and I rebuild faster than everybody else. If you're that far behind in a multiplayer game, what is our combat card going to solve for you? I don't know.
Yeah, right.
So let's get something for this Entangling Vines. What do you think?
Okay. Just some like basic white ability, tap something you have to tap target creature. I'm almost tempted to say like tap 2 creatures you control, tap target creature. Like the cost is tap 2 creatures you control.
So we're kind of convoke paying for it.
Yeah. I think that would fit with like the go wide feeling that I keep wanting to put with her.
Yeah, I think that fits with some of the like magic mechanical stuff we're talking about, but it also pulls it away from Jaheira, because Jaheira is the one casting the spell that like seizes your main character in the game. She's the one holding at it and then like looking you in the eye and making sure that she can trust you.
Yeah, but if she taps, then she's not attacking. I guess she could do it after declaring attackers.
Yes. See, this is where I think it's starting to come together.
Yeah.
I've just got a little sketch here. We can change this up, but she has vigilance, and then Entangling Vines white and tap target creature and put a stun counter on it. And then her Harper ability, where creatures that have attacked can tap for mana. I think the other kind of cool thing, because all your other creatures have vigilance, if you attack with 3 or 4 creatures, you're now also Giga set up to deploy some combat tricks.
Right, yeah. It could be, before damage.
Yeah. Because the Harpers, like one of their main tactics is ambushes. They kind of see through you. They've got their Spy Master technology.
I see, yeah.
And then they know someone's coming, and so they set up in like an abandoned inn. And then as the bad guys come by, they're firing arrows. They've got like a huge advantage in this fight. Maybe they should be good at blocking, and this is only attacking.
Vigilance creatures are naturally good at blocking.
Great reminder. That's why we're the number one vigilance podcast on the internet.
They love doing both. They're good all around.
2-way players.
I'm still a little bit struggling to think about how you would do a comeback here. I guess turning the Entangling Vines into a stun counter helps, because that would last until the next turn too, right?
You can kind of work your way up to opening an attack up. Yeah.
But I think it's good. I mean, I think it feels very green-white. I think the tapping for mana feels great. The vigilance feels great. The Entangling Vines matches really well with her.
Yeah, I think we're always trying to like find a slightly different niche to a card than the other options. You need to bring your own, glorious anthems. You need to bring your own token generation, secure the wastes.
Right.
But in exchange, Jaheira is like here to take those forces, whatever forces are around her, and is going to utilize to the maximum. She's going to make sure all of them are ready to fight, but they're also ready to protect, but they're also ready to like cast all these cool spells that I have.
Cool. Can we rename her Jaheira High Harper?
Oh, okay. Jaheira secretly High Harper.
Well, I think she's openly High Harper. I think people call her that.
Your quest log knows that.
Yes, your quest log knows that.
Cost-wise, I think this is tricky because this is playing into some of the apprehensions that you have.
Right.
Where if she's too big, she's too slow, you're not going to be able to do what you want.
We're also not going to give her haste, so she has to be able to cost the turn before she's a relevant attack, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Or irrelevant tap, too. Like, she can't...
Yeah.
Her Harper ability will be on as soon as she's out, which is nice.
Yeah. Her Harper ability being on feels like it might give you some sequencing flexibility where I can either decide to deploy her first or develop my board a little bit and then bring her in on top. And then like I'm already set up and I'm already ready to
one turn of a really good attack, yeah.
So I guess the question is, do we want to go like a 3 mana, like a 1 white green, and have her be kind of small, like a 2/2/2/3, something like that?
I think I'm thinking small cost, small power, because you have to have built the board.
We could make her 4 mana and have her be a little bigger, which is maybe not out of character for her, but like Minthara, I didn't want to be a 2/2. That felt too small. Big plate mail, giant sword, shield, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Jaheira's wearing leather and little scimitars and stuff.
Yeah, it's possible that she's not that durable in combat. She's not that huge an offensive force. She's just really crafty. She knows how to put those in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
So like a 2/3 or a 3/2, something like that.
I think 3/2 could be fun, but it does suck to have your commander die like a shock. But maybe that's fine.
I think the 3/2 also gives... I really wanted that, like, I've got 2 scimitars kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Whereas like a 2/3 is more like, I've got a crossbow.
And a shield. And I'm standing back here. Yeah.
Yeah, she is a little more on the engine side. She's a little bit more about staying back. But because anybody that attacks has this mana ability, you do kind of want her to get in too.
Get in, yeah.
So you have some incentive to try to have her attack if possible. Yeah, so those 3 cards, we went actually, I think, deeper on these cards than we did on the original 6 somehow.
I know. Well, we knew we had to move fast before, and now we dawdle.
But that's it for our final 3 of the companions that I think we're doing. I think I still do want to do the other 3. There's 3 kind of Act 3 characters that I'd like to talk about, and some other cards from the game. So maybe in a month or 2, maybe we'll jump back in for those. Those don't have Battle for Baldur's Gate characters, so that's all new territory. If you have other stuff from Baldur's Gate that you think we should talk about, I'm definitely trying to hear it. Any of the big monsters, the big bosses, gear, the like cool demon that you have to fight. Maybe we'll try to get an episode for those too. Out of these 3, who's your favorite? Who's your favorite card that we made?
Probably Halsin. I like the transforming on a commander. I think that'd be really fun. Plus, I like him to start. So.
You deserve 2 boyfriends. All right. Before we actually get out of here, I do want to tell everyone about our March design challenge. We do a design challenge every month. We get all those submissions in, then we talk about them on the podcast. This is a great way. If you've got some crazy ideas cooked in there, you don't know you don't want to make a set yet, you just want to fire off a couple ideas, why not do a design challenge? This is Year of the Dragon.
Ooh, my favorite.
Yeah, you love dragons. Design a new version of one of the elder dragons. You can use one of the 5 big elder dragons. You could use the like sister or whatever. But if you want to do one of the Tarkir dragons, those are all elder dragons. There are even some D&D elder dragons because of the ancient dragons and stuff like that. Is there any of these dragons? You were looking at this list earlier. Are there any about them that you remember fondly or that you want to see people redesign?
I always love playing dragons, especially in Commander, in EDH. I like the multicolor ones a lot, like the 3-color ones.
We also do some bonus points. These are optional, but feel free to shoot for them if you just want something else to kind of take it, a little extra restriction to, restriction breeds creativity kind of thing. My bonus points this time are March Enemy. So this card that you design will probably win you the game if your opponents don't manage to remove it by your next turn. One of those cards where like, I'm going to cast this, it's risky, but if it sticks, I'm going to take over, which makes you the arch enemy. And then you got some bonus points too. Yeah,
my bonus point is for Broodmother. So use a lady elder dragon, either existing lady or use some feminine flavor text.
Alrighty. So that'll be due March 29th. And we always love getting all those submissions. Looking forward to those. And that's our podcast for the week. You can join the Discord to submit all that in the show notes. We also have beaconofcreation.com if you just need to catch up on articles, or we got YouTube videos going up. We just had a YouTube video for the first Baldur's Gate episode come out. Thanks for coming on again.
Yeah, it's fun. And it was very exciting with the new YouTube video. I do feel like a star. I was just thinking about all those cards again. And very exciting. Let us know what you think about the video. It's great to see all the renders together.
Yeah. All right. If you need to reach me, I'm at Tim F. Riley, and Gaby's on the Discord.
Yep.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks, y'all.